Welcome to day 11 of the 12 Days of Christmas, a video series meant to help you get clear on what it get clear on what's really holding you back from the life that you want. Think of this as our little gift to you. I am Adelia Abora-Shade, and this is Ivana Robinson. We co-host Reclaim the Retreat. Additionally,
I'm a certified life and leadership coach. I help people own what it is that they want and give fewer fucks about what other people think.
I'm a financial educator helping to demystify travel, money, and everything in between so that women like you can live life on their terms and not society's.
For the past 10 days, we've been asking you different questions, discussing different topics, having different conversations related to 1 year from now. If your life was more fulfilling, more energizing, more whatever, what would be different? One thing we have not fully leaned into yet are systemic challenges.
Yes, because if we're keeping it real, we have to acknowledge that there are systemic challenges that make it harder for many of us to live the lives we dream about. The barriers are real.
But the real question is, are you going to let that stop you? You know, you still have to live your life, and we believe that you deserve to thrive, not just survive. We're not here to just white knuckle our way through.
One of the things that we've talked about in this series is that there are elements, moments where things might just seem too big to surmount. And systemic challenges could very much fall into that category. Like, the system is rigged against us. Why should I be fighting so hard to live my life in a different way? It can feel very defeating. I don't know. It could not feel great. It makes it hard. Futile. It can make it all feel so futile.
Yes. And what are we talking about specifically?
Specifically, we're talking about things like capitalism, racism,
misogyny, which, you know, under that umbrella, you got your homophobia, your transphobia, your misogynoir, all of the ways in which the hatred of women comes into play. There is ableism, there's fatphobia. And I want to be very clear in that when we're talking about these things, we're very much talking about the system and the institutions and how they work together to oppress us, not just the, I think, individual interactions that we may be more used to experiencing or may seem more obvious to us as we're talking about those structures.
I think that is important to remember, that it's not about this individual person who said this shitty thing to me. It is about a system that is built. These are the cornerstones of that system, and that system is meant to oppress us. And so it can feel really big, but we don't want you to feel like it is too big. It's the system, and so I can't do anything different.
No. You know, it's about figuring out how to navigate them with a certain element of resilience and grounding yourself in your personal power, even as these structures are designed to limit you and to keep you down.
It's important, I think, to reframe things. Instead of seeing this as, well, that's how the world is, and I just have to accept it. Because accepting it means you don't get a new, better life. Instead, reframe it and understand that these are things that you will have to confront on your journey.
Yes.
But they are not things
that you have to accept as fact, as law, as the way that things will always be. Like they will be if you just accept them and keep going along without confronting them, questioning them.
I don't know if it was a meme or just somebody reposted a tweet. I don't know. But they talked about, particularly for Black people, how Black don't crack, and if people weren't constantly trying to kill us and us having to survive that, we'd probably be immortal. Because like the system is the system.
Yeah. And
you can decide you can use that as an excuse, or you can decide that I'm going to find my happiness in spite of.
Mm-hmm. Yes, how are you perhaps letting these systems dictate your life versus figuring out how to navigate around them? I think about with a lot of my clients who are very unhappy in their jobs. It's their options, right, as they see it, is I have this quote unquote good job, right, quote unquote good job that I hate, that is depleting to me, or I am destitute. And like that is a core tenet of capitalism, of like you just need to center productivity and getting things done and suffering through because you need the money, you need the healthcare, you need all of the things that we've tied to employment, right? It is a worth thing. When maybe the better question is, how can I create something that it supports me and is sustainable despite capitalism? Right? Is that a different job, right, that allows you to work set hours? Is that a job that allows you, that just plays better into your strengths or that you enjoy more, right? Is that starting a YouTube channel? Is it a combination of all of the things, right? It's figuring out, how do I create something regardless of the system that we are currently under?
It's important to focus on where you do have power, because we can all feel very powerless when there are so many systemic challenges. So instead, focus on the areas where you do have some power, where you do have some control. We can't tear down the system overnight.
No.
But you can choose how you respond to it, where you invest your energy, and the boundaries you set for yourself. This is one of the things I did sort of as I was having this awakening, as I was about to turn 40. I looked at the job that I had and what it was doing to me, and very much I was one of those people like, I gotta have this job that I am overworked, underpaid, or I will be destitute. Mm-hmm. And I was able to reject that because I was like, that can't be the answer. Keeping on doing this cannot be the answer. I refuse to accept that answer. And I started to investigate ways that I could support myself, mm-hmm. that would let me have more time to do the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would argue that a prime example of that is the fact that you and I live together.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is a financial element of that, of, we get to split those expenses, right? It is the domestic labor that gets split. I'm finding other ways to, be with the people that you enjoy and support each other.
And this works in, I also don't want to work a whole lot of hours, which could mean I make less money. But it again is finding a way to exist within the larger system that allows me to live the life that I want.
Yes. And I think that's the key of understanding what it is that you actually want, as opposed to what have I been told to want? What is the thing that the system has told me is success, right? I think particularly being American, it's the house with white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, and like you're supposed to have this very specific nuclear bubble, and that is supposed to be your entire support network. Is quote unquote, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. These are your people. That's it. And that is, one, incredibly isolating. It is also very unrealistic. But if we're so focused on just trying to survive under capitalism, under these structures, then there's no energy left over to actually fight the system, to change it, to create systems that actually work for us.
So some of the things that you can do, because again, we cannot overthrow the system in an afternoon. Some of the things that you could do, set boundaries around work to protect your mental health.
That is a big one. I know a lot of people since lockdown have gone to working from home, and it is very easy to just roll out of bed and get on the computer and then work until it's all day. Don't get up, don't, take any breaks, and then go to bed, right? It is our work day in many respects has expanded, and being able to set a set, work schedule, whether that be end times, beginning times, I definitely recommend sort of implementing a commute, if you will, like even if you're not actually going anywhere, making it a point to take your morning coffee, I don't know, on the porch, go get some sun, go see outside, after you're done working, get up, stretch, do whatever it is you need to do to kind of bring yourself back to you before you go into your other responsibilities, right? It is very hard to kind of relax and to switch your brain if I immediately get up from my work desk and then I'm immediately parent, spouse, whatever it is when I exit the room. Like, you normally would have had a train ride, you would have driven home, and you would have gotten some time to be with yourself, right? To leave work at work, or to leave home at home, depending on which direction you're going. You still need that time, even if you are not actively going to a different location.
You could or should advocate for yourself in environments where your voice is being overlooked. Like, a closed mouth don't get fed. Like, you gotta be the squeaky wheel. And I'm not saying this in like, you're gonna speak up and all this change is gonna happen, but holding it in is not good for you, and is also not going to make a difference.
Yes. You should also build habits that prioritize your values, that center your values, honor your values over hustle culture, over the thing that you are supposed to be doing, quote unquote. I make it a point to take a nap almost every day in the middle of what would be the work day. Okay, I'm not saying that has to be your thing, and that may not work in the way that your life is structured, but being able to rest when you need to set those boundaries, maybe engage in some creative practices, things that you do just because they're fun, they are fulfilling, they are interesting to you, they pique your curiosity, as opposed to they are quote unquote productive.
Yes. Getting away from the productivity thing has been huge for me. I do things now. I've designed my days in such a way that I work not based off of, these are the work hours. When am I at my sharpest? When am I like feeling good and enthusiastic about the work? and create a work schedule that focuses on that, as opposed to I gotta be up in front of the computer at 8 and I gotta be cranking out stuff all day long.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. I think it is really important to grow your community and finding people and support that is not only going to, I think, help support you in creating this new life and leaning into that, but also expand the ways in which you maybe think about the world, both on an interpersonal level and global, of like what can be different? How can we go about this?
That's well said, because again, growing your community gets you away from, because again, the way the system is designed, one is to isolate us, to turn us against each other, to make us depend more on the system than on each other.
Yeah.
Because that way we can't fight back.
Mm-hmm. Right. If I'm just so focused on trying to survive, particularly on my own, and making it happen on my own, or thinking about what someone else has that I don't have, that is really just a recipe for disaster, because I'm then focused on fighting those around me as opposed to us together fighting the system, which is really the actual problem.
Another benefit of growing your community is, even though we feel like it, navigating these challenges, the challenges that the system presents to us, is not something we should be doing alone. It is not our individual burden to bear. Community is the most powerful tool in resisting systemic pressures.
Mm-hmm. We want you to go out there and create supportive community, join supportive communities. That is, I think, really important, is that a lot of these communities, organizations, groups, hangouts, they probably exist. It's finding your people, those people in your areas, and how can you link up?
Yeah, you wanna find spaces online, offline, that affirm your goals, who you are, what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Think about the things that are local to you, whether that be local, volunteer groups, local activist groups. It could be even like taking some sort of creative class. I know Parks and Rec be having all types of different classes, events. How can you get out and meet the people that are around you?
That's the part. It is about putting yourself in spaces where you're going to meet the other people for whom the things that are important to you are also important to them.
Ask yourself, what are either the needs that you yourself need met or others around you need met, and how can you help to solve that, right? I think about, I know a woman who created a whole child care exchange. She was a single parent and knew other single parents and needing child care, and so it was creating, a schedule in which, okay, I take the kids this day and all those other moms are free or other parents are free, and we rotate, right? Like, how can we all get what it is that we need and participate?
This is something I struggle with now, just being me by myself. How am I going to feed myself? What am I going to eat? So, like, if that is a struggle of yours, or the fact that you are working so many hours and it's like, I want to have healthy stuff to eat, but I don't always, I can prep maybe 2 days, but then what am I doing for the other 5? Joining or creating a meal train, getting with a group of other folks who are like, oh yeah, I'm trying to eat better too. I'll prep 2 meals and, just do it for everybody in the group. You prep too.
I think that's really, even thinking about as a single person, it can be really hard to, feed yourself in a way that does not have you eating the same thing the entire week, given how food is packaged and sort of what our options are. And so, yeah, can you create some sort of meal exchange, with other people who maybe want to cook, do cook, whatever, but also don't want to be eating, the same meal for the next 5 days.
So, this might be something, you might find this difficult because we've already talked about the fact that the system has been set up to keep us isolated, to keep us from getting into community with other people. So you might struggle with this. So I think first you've got to interrogate those struggles, or more like pinpoint what is the specific struggle you're having. Is it, well, I can't find my community? Is that really what it is, that you can't find your people? Or is it that you don't know how to be in community with people? And your lack of knowledge there is a barrier to you.
Yes, I think often we expect too much from people, right? Like, I have met this new person and therefore we are best friends. No, that's not how that works. That is a process, just like, I think we talk about it a lot in terms of like romantic relationships, and how to meet people and get to know people. It's the same thing for literally any other kind of relationship, right? Of inviting people to do things or having different conversations. I think also assuming that you're going to hit it off with every person, or particularly in a group, if you are, joining different groups or trying out different community organizations, everybody's not necessarily going to be your person. And like, that's fine, because that's not necessarily what you're there for. You're there for this other cause. You were there to, get to know all the people, to do a thing, to whatever.
It's not going to be instant BFF. It is okay to add people to your circle who are just going to be associates. Like, everybody does not have to be your homegirl from jump. That's completely valid. I think we've got room for a little bit of everybody on our roster.
Yeah.
At different levels of relationship.
Well, and I think about that, right? Like, when it comes to like our biological family, we don't like all of them. Okay, everyone is not the one that you're kikiing with, and yet there's usually some sort of support to be had there in a general sense.
I have heard, we've heard this in the work that we do, where a woman will say, well, there is nobody who wants to do this thing, or I can't find community. And I think we got to be honest about how much of that is us and how much of that is them. If you're holding on to some messed up stuff that happened in your past, like, I've never really been close with women because they're all conniving. Okay, that might have been true when you were 13, but let go of that. Don't bring that bad juju up into your new life. Let go of that. And really, you've got to be open
to things being different than they were before.
Yes, 100%.
If you're going to be trying new things, then you gotta be open to things being new.
And them looking different.
Yeah.
And them feeling different. Because the whole point here is you want something different in your life. And so that means being in spaces that you weren't in before, with people you wouldn't normally think, oh, that person will be in my group. We got to be open and willing to try on new people and new places.
Yeah, I think it's important for you to take this moment to think about, what does thriving look like for you, right? You're even within, these oppressive systems, even within the racism, the misogyny, the whatever intersections you have. What does it look like for you to thrive, for you to be able to thrive, and find one step you can take to move you closer to that vision.
And if you want to, you are welcome to share that in the comments. But of course, you're not obligated to. If you are a journal girl, this would be a great thing to journal about.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you've gotten something from this conversation, share it with a friend. Share with someone you think might benefit from hearing it too.
And you can also give it a like. You can subscribe to our channel because there will be more stuff like this. I know we're down to day 11, but
we almost did it. We're almost at the end.
But that's not the end. There will be more, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get on our mailing list.
Yes, reclaimtheretreat.com. The link is in the description.